Alright, we are online, I believe. So this is my tutorial for the map editor. Let's start working. So this video is made for my team. If you are not part of my team, get out. Just kidding. So first of all, come on, start. The first thing you want to do is to load a game file. Unless if you're a genius and you want to learn how to make a new game file. So you can edit it, but load it. Before, you could load a map before you load the game file, but thanks for the object system, you cannot anymore. So I can work around that, but it seems, yeah, I will work around that later on. Then you need to load a map or start making a new one. There's a lot of features that missing. In the map editor, but I believe it's better to test it by yourself now. It's not ready, it's alpha, you can consider it alpha, and see what kind of features you want to do. I will let you know in this video what kind of issues I have, the known bugs. One of the things that you don't want to do is you could make maps of the size 20,000, but it will be slow and depends on your computer, and it will try to load the whole thing from the memory as a text, so you might be able to save it but not to load it. So keep it small. I believe it will be safe to make up to 3,000, but you can do like let's see. Do you know what, this is not map testing capability. Let's keep it as 3,000. So we have a map now. Based on the tiles that you load, you can see them here. And you have up to 15 one of them. And you can scroll the mouse here to see them. And pick what you want and you will see it here. And just drag it. You can, because this is Map Simulator 2, I add this feature. You can enlarge the screen and you can use it as much as you want, and you can make it smaller, enlarge it how much you want. Before the map fill area was limited and you cannot do a shit about it. So you can hold control to drag the mouse to draw the objects. You can use the right mouse button to delete them. Next, you can place objects. If the game file have objects in it, you can add them. And as you can see, you cannot add them yet because you must have a layer and a name. So the negative layers will go back and the positive layer will go in the front. And each map have its own set of layers. You can add and remove them as much as you want. Even if you don't want any back layer or any front layer, you can do that. Next, you need the name, and you can make it as an auto, and every time you add it, it will increment the number. So as you can see, because this is a back object, it goes behind the tail, and the front objects will go in front, and it will go in front of the players too. The items is really old, don't play with them. As you can see, it's totally fucked up and it can crash the program. This is a very old thing. I didn't touch it, so don't play with it. The tab is still there, but I didn't do anything to it since the first prototype, the first game engine. We are in Game Engine 3, by the way. Actually, you can safely say 4 because it supports the game file. So we are in a Game Engine 4, so don't just. So the items worked in here, it's the same items in there. And actually, because I opened this suck, let's show you something. All objects and walls have something called fire solid and solid. Solid mean that the character cannot pass them, and fire solid mean the fire cannot pass them. So this wall is fire solid and solid, but not the sign, not this wall. This wall is solid, but not fire solid, so the fire can pass it. And this wall is a secret wall. It's actually neither solid nor fire solid, so it can become like a hidden passage. I'm looking for what here? Whoops. Sorry about that. So let's load a game. Load a map. Oh, let's make a new map. The program can support multiple maps, so you can switch between them in here. And when you have something to brush, you can make them as solid or fire solids, as I told you. And you won't be able to tell at first, but you could tell by the values in here. So this is the value of this tail. So if I shift it, it will decrease by 8, it will decrease by 16. And by that you can tell, well, this is the old method. Now you have something here in view, check attributes, and it will tell you if it is solid or not. So red is solid, blue is fire solid, and nothing is nothing. In objects, they have the same thing. The red one is solid. The blue one is the fire solid area. Some objects have fire solid, some object doesn't. Some object have solid area, some object doesn't. And they can be invisible too. Unlike the others, they can't. If you want to change the solidity without changing the elements in here, you can hold Alt and change them. Or you can hold L shift and change all of them. Or Alt Control, whoops, Alt Control doesn't work, I lied. So you need to click on each one of them separately here. Next are the creatures. Same with objects, you need to select the object, select the skills or the prototype. The prototype is a group of selection of attributes and skills. Like if you wanted a creature look like an imp, for example, but you want to load the info of a minotaur, you can do that, but unless if the skills and the animation have the same name, it won't work. It will work, but yeah. And here is the faction, which I will describe later. As well, you need a unique name for each one of them. The slider doesn't work, so I don't want to even try what will happen. It doesn't work. It was an old idea. So you can place them if they have different name. What next? Next is the backgrounds. In the setting, you can set the backgrounds. Oh boy. Now you don't need to load the background and select it. All the backgrounds in the game file will be shown in here. And you can make them transparent. You can change their position by a block. So if you notice here, the numbers in here, this show you the block and a fixed size based on the tilt size. So the tilt size now is 48 by 48. So 0, 0 is the first one. If you move the mouse a little bit on the right, this is the first, well, we start at 0. So this is the second on the x-axis. The third, the fourth, the fifth, and it goes on. So this is the number in here is the same number of, whoops, the background. So if I put 1, 1, you will add it in here. This is how far it moved by the camera. It moves faster if the camera moves, and you can make it slower if you put a negative value. Here it will make it move by time, and if it moves by time it can leave the map, so you can make it move horizontally or vertically, make a loop. And this is how fast it's moved by the time itself. And here you can shift it by pixels instead of shifting the BGI based on the map blocks size. And this is a new thing I add. You can now print, actually it took me some good time. When you select a map, it will show you its size. You can print a portion of the size of the map. The last thing is you need to select, is it a background or is it a background? A background is something that will appear in the front of everything. So it's a front ground or background. I don't know what it's called. And there you go. As I said, I add it as 1-1. If we try to add a background, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. And make it 800, 600, 5, and make it transparent. You won't notice it anywhere. That's because you need to show it. On default, you cannot see the background, and you can actually disable the backgrounds too. If you want to make sure that the tills standalone look beautiful, or whatever reason, you can turn them off. You can turn on the background, but as you can see, it's not transparent because actually, why did I zoom? I didn't talk about zoom yet. By the mouse scroll, you can zoom, but you just saw the effect. The camera move and the time move doesn't show in the backgrounds unless if you set the dynamic backgrounds. When you set them dynamic, you will see them how they behave in the game. So if you return to this guy and make it move by the time, like 2, and the interval is 5, and the speed, I don't know if this will work or not. Oh, I didn't select it. I should select it first. Oh, this one didn't reset it too. Oh god, I need to do some work. I didn't know about that. 2.5. Give me a second. No, let me add it after the video. Save. So what the hell happened? Oh, it didn't load the cut, and it's not moving at all. It should move by the timer. Oh well. Maybe the dynamic doesn't move by the timer in here. Anyway, next. So if you want to add more backgrounds, you can go to the edit game. And here, the first page in here will show you what kind of images that you have. So if you select the blocks, the tills, and you change this one into the viewer, so you can see the result of the images, you will see the tills in here. This is a half page of tills. We can have 15 other of similar to these. It must be in the same size. Animated tills. I'm not going to tell you how to make an animated till yet because it's a little bit advanced and I need to relearn it again and I don't have time for that. Objects, if you don't program them in here, it won't work. You need to program them. You need to add new ones. And this is an advanced thing. I'll make another video later on when I feel this system can be used. But for now, we will stick to the basics. So you can add tills here and you can add backgrounds in here. And if you add the backgrounds in here, you can add them in there. And don't forget to save the changes. To save the map, before I forget, don't use save as. Sometimes corrupt the file. Use save all. It will save all the maps in here. And you cannot unload the map. So if you want to unload the map, unfortunately you need to reset everything. What next? Oh yeah, one of the things I forgot. This number is a spare number that I could use for different purposes. For the tills. So you can add this number, and it's written in binary. It's only from 0 to 7. So we could use the number for slobs. And if I program the game to accept the offset to represent a slob, the character will behave with that as if it was a slob. And I can make it like it's slope to the right side as 1, slope to the left side as 2, and normal as 0, 0. Then if unfortunately adding slopes in that time won't work unless if you set the offset, and if you set it for other things, well, you'll screw up. Oh, I didn't mention the differences between the mini objects. All objects can become mini objects. Objects have all kinds of properties and skills and attributes, and they can be solid or fire solid. But some of the objects are used only for decoration, and you don't want to add them to be broken or anything. That's what it's called is mini or mini objects. Sorry. So you cannot specify the name of many objects because they are meaningless. They are saved in a totally different ways. They are harder to code, but you don't need to bother with that. And harder to deal with in code, you don't need to bother with that. But when you have many objects, they save way much less memory than normal objects. So don't worry if you add like a million objects of them everywhere. They are lighter than the normal objects by around 10 times. At least 10 times. This is without adding features or complex code or scripts, because objects can have scripts and everything. This guy is just a placeholder. It just saves where its position, if it is invisible or not. It doesn't care if the object is solid or fire solid. It doesn't care. And it seems I didn't program is visible. God, I need to do a lot of crap. What's left? Left, Asians. Well, let's talk about these flags. These flags are the pain of my life, but they are working hopefully. So sometimes you want to place objects in a certain way. Let's make a new map. So if you have this blocks and you want to place objects in a certain area, for example. By the way, the flags doesn't work well with Mini. I didn't take my time to program them. Only Fix and FixY are working with Mini. I will adjust that later because we have a lot of issues with it. And as I said, programming it's harder. So when it's set as a free, by the way, these flags work with both objects and creatures and later on items. Then it will, if I set as a free, it will set anywhere. If I set it at floor, it will try to determine the first floor that it catch, and you can put it on it. So it won't bother. Like if there's a gravity, you don't need to put hover creatures and they will fall on the wall. It will immediately go to the wall. So I mean floor. You can say floor, not wall. So if you have something like this, oh wow, only 25, small map, okay. And we set as floor, as you can see, it will go to the first floor it find. And as you can see, this is where it hit the character or hit the floors and stuff. So it exactly at the floor. And it worked with the creature too. Why the creature doesn't show the... Oh well. It's funny, it showed this floor, but it doesn't show this floor. Oh yes, it related to the X position. Because I can describe why this is behaving like this, but it's not a good excuse. Walker is actually 64 by 64, so it's actually huge. So the way how it detected is a little bit off, I fear. If it was smaller, it won't have this issue. Maybe I need to adjust the coding to adjust. I cannot tell if there is a drawing for the character in here or not. But I need to, yeah, I need to adjust this somehow. So it doesn't depend on the corner, it depends on the corner of the solidity. That will take more work. The other one is you can place objects based on the size of the block. So if you have a brush like here, and the objects in here, you see it's moved by 48 by 48. And because this object is 48 by 48 exactly, I know you see a white line, but don't worry, this is because of the float number 0.1999999. It show a whole line, but it's in the game it won't show, so don't worry about that. If we have a huge object like a tree, 48 by 48 is meaningless, so we can use block 2, which will determine by the size of the object itself. So if I add a tree in here and add a tree in here, you see exactly, you can add them in a block way, so they won't intersect. So if I add one here and one here, there's no intersection between them. The last one is fixing the coordination. So I can fix, for example, this map is 25 by 25. So 25 multiply by 48 divide by 2 is 600. So if I say 600, that will move it exactly at the middle of the map. So you can fix the X or fix the Y. Oh, so there is more down to the map. So, oh, why when I say 600, it went to the bottom? What the hell? Is this 600? I guess. Anyway, so these are the flags. What next? You could add map regions, but the map regions show map regions doesn't work. So I don't know if you want to do that. If you go to the script page and you go to the map in here and select the map you want, you can add a region, for example, exit or shop enter. And you add the script key and you add the region, for example, start from 45 to 120, and the size is 48 by 48, and add. And even this doesn't work, even though the area, it used to be working when it was in the game folder area, but it seems I screw up the name of the add button. And you can add layers. Adding layers in here will let you have more layers in the map. So if we go to map 1, for example, now you see you have 3 layers. And if you add one in here, let's add one in the back first, then add one in the front. So you see this tree covering that tree. But if you want a tree between them, this one became between them because I selected number 2. Not only that, whoops, in the layer section, I wonder if there's someone in the chat. That will be funny. Actually, someone seems watching, or about as usual. Not only that, in layers, you can change how large the characters are. So you make the further object smaller, look smaller, like 0.5, and this one, let's say 2. And you can make them move by the camera faster or slower. Making them moving by the camera faster or slower only affect mini objects. It doesn't affect normal objects, but the size affect both. Later on, I'll make normal objects doesn't get affected by the enlargement too. So let's test that. I made only layer 3 smaller, and as you can see, layer 3 disappeared in here. and that's because I believe it became smaller, and the second one start hiding it. But the one in here, it became much larger because it's double the size. Even though layer 2 I didn't change it. So you can make them look naturally, hopefully, larger or smaller. What next? Objects layer. In the same page, but I don't advise to deal with it because it's not done yet either. In here, you can select a map and you can select the creatures and change their attributes. Later on, actually, I will make a way to change its whole prototype somehow. So you could add attributes and add the values and check the maximum. So for example, this is how high he can jump. And I didn't program any skills, but you should be able to add skills and remove skills. What I was going to say. And you can change his position. For example, let's watch this. He's here. Let's move it a little bit back. So let's make it 100. Save. So these data can be saved too. The objects, I was too lazy, didn't change them. I mean, you barely can. Yeah, I didn't fill this. I was too lazy and I was like, let's do something else. So later on I can finish this. The dialogue actually is working. You can make dialogue keys and make different languages and everything. But the system might be changed later on, and you don't want to play with the dialogue yet. This is one of the first few things I ever done actually. What else? A few things that I could let you play with. Well, I don't think so. Is the factions, which can damage who and which is an allies. And actually, I'm working on this in the game engine now. So I'm working on the attack so I can work with the faction setting. And I'm making a crazy system in there. It will be wonderful, really fast and really beautiful. My game will support million of bullets because how optimized it is. And thanks for the game engine itself, it's really fast. And the animated block, you can give blocks animations, but I don't want you to play with this yet as well. And you can give them tags to behave in a different way. I didn't program this yet, but it have the data itself. So actually you can select them in here and say this one, oh, we don't have animation block, so I cannot select them in there. I need to add them first. So this is the first tutorial. Hopefully you learned something or two. I will expect a question from you whenever you uninstall it from the Google Drive. Thank you for watching and see you next time where how to stop this stupid thing.